Namaste. Aloha. Welcome to the Wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. My name is Janapati Das, and welcome. Thank you so much. Aloha. Thank you for tuning in. Please accept my respects, everyone. This is our monthly Wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita class that we hold here on Yoga Kirtan, Hawaii. So you can go back to our YouTube channel, and you'll see that there are lots of yoga wisdom videos that you can watch on, especially some on the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. Today we will chant Krishna's names, which is the prime cornerstone of our meditational practice, and instructions by the Supreme Lord, Lord Chaitanya, to chant in this age of Kali to achieve peace of mind and spiritual realization. So we will be reading from the Bhagavad Gita. This Bhagavad Gita is entitled the Bhagavad Gita as it is, because it is translated and purported upon by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So at this moment, I'd like to take the opportunity to pay my respects to him for having this wonderful Bhagavad Gita, and also like to pay my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Jagat Guru, Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada. So I am very grateful to be here, and we will chant. So in this process of chanting Kirtan, if you're not familiar with this already, there's lots of Kirtan on our channel that you can listen to. It's a hearing and repeating response, but since we're on a video, first time through, I will chant the mantra. You can sit back, listen, give oral reception, and let it settle into your heart, relax, and likewise, upon responding, you sing back with me the second time through, or the even time through. And so that's all I have to say about that, so please join along in chanting with me. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Purakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Society. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gorakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate Bhajan Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Bhaktavrinda Bhajan Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadanara Srivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hari-bol Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari-bol 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari-bol Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari-bol Hari-bol Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari-bol Hari-bol Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari-bol Go, Nita, go. Haribo. Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, so namaste, everyone. We are going to read, as we always do, from the Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's a monumental work, the cornerstone of Vedic literature, and very difficult to try to summarize in a very simple, and you could take one verse and just continuously meditate upon it. But we are going to read from a few verses, and of course we'll read the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And our spiritual grandfather has put the purports in there in order for those people who want to have elaboration on the meaning of the text, because as the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the problem is, as Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has stated in the beginning, that when he was approached originally, before he translated this, approached to know of a good English translation, he couldn't think of any, because the Bhagavad Gita as it is as it is. And so that's why he titled it that, because the information of the Bhagavad Gita doesn't need interpretation or capitulation or any kind of relation. It is as it is, and the information is passed down from Sri Krishna through a disciplic lineage of spiritual masters, unchanged, and so we have it as it is. Even though it's been handed down, the information has been handed down since time immemorial. The information is still fresh, it's still applicable, it's still relevant, and worth meditating upon it. It is the life of our, it is the greatest welfare for humanity, I should say. We have so many speculations and ideas about how we can improve things in the material world, how we can deal with conflicts. All that information is in the Bhagavad Gita. Really, the greatest benediction for humanity at large. So we are going to start from chapter 10. And for those of you who don't know, this is a conversation, of course, between Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his disciple, Arjuna, on the field of Kuru Kshetra, the field of Kuru, the battle place of the Kurukshetra war that is about to take place. And this is preliminary to the battle. And Arjuna, of course, is asking Krishna to drive the chariot into the middle of this battlefield where they have great warriors, millions of warriors about to engage in battle. And as we know, Arjuna has a dilemma about what he should be doing in this battlefield. We can get into that on another time, but basically the Bhagavad Gita, as it is the song of God. It is the information coming from Krishna to not just Arjuna, but to all living entities. So we're going to pick up at chapter 10, which is called the opulence of the Absolute. And the opulences of Krishna are full and complete. And I will see if I can locate so I don't have to rely on my own information in my head. I'm trying to remember what the opulences of the but I might have to. Here it is. Okay, so the opulences are full strength, full fame, wealth, full knowledge, full beauty, and full renunciation. So these six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 opulences, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, counting wrong, 6 opulences. They are opulences because when they are held by Krishna, they are complete in and of themselves. They are the source of all strength, the source of all fame, the source of all wealth, the source of all knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. Now, living entities in this material world, we have some of these things, but not in full and not completely in a complete set. We have very strong people who are, muscly guys who can lift a lot of weights in weightlifting competitions, or we have famous people like the Elon Musks or the Donald Trumps or the, Lady Gaga or whatever the fame might be. We have wealthy people like Jeff Bezos, and we have knowledgeable people like Einstein, so there are people who have one thing or another, like, for example, Einstein may have had a lot of knowledge, but he didn't have very much beauty. He was kind of famous, but I don't know how much wealth he had. So you can see there's sort of a give and take in our karmic situations that we come into in this life. We actually have a certain amount of opulence, but Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the source of all things, his opulences are in full. This is why this chapter is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute Truth. And so in text 9, Krishna says, "The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss enlightening one another and conversing about me." So in this verse, Krishna says, "Mat chitta," minds are fully engaged in me. Those who have minds who are fully engaged in me. And chitta also refers to consciousness. So really what we're dealing with here is what we refer to as Krishna consciousness. Is thinking about Krishna. It's about utilizing our consciousness in the service of Krishna. And so those pure devotees, and they're pure because their consciousness is completely absorbed in these opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Krishna is not different from his opulences. So the thoughts or the consciousness of the pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss enlightening one another and conversing about me. The message of the Bhagavad Gita and the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly about this. It's about spiritual teachers transmitting the absolute truth, the message of the Bhagavad Gita to living entities. This is why I say in a prayer to my spiritual teacher that I was born in the darkness of ignorance. We are all born into the darkness of ignorance in this material world, coming into a situation by our own choosing of being away from God. And so this being away from God is like the shadow. And a shadow is when you turn around from the light source and look at the shadow. So you're in this darkness, and the devotee, these pure devotees, they are bringing the torchlight of knowledge, the light, back into this dark material world, and enlightening one another about that. Those who want to receive it. There's a lot of people who like being in the darkness. This kind of reminds me of what is that? That's the allegory of the cave by Plato. And in that allegory, there is people who are chained to a rock, who are looking at the shadow of the reflection of a fire behind them. So that's this chain. They would rather look at this illusion, thinking that this material world is somehow or another real, in the sense that we are this person, we are this body, we are these thoughts, and everything that has to do with our body is who we really are. But actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes very clear early on that for the soul there is neither birth nor death, nor having once been does it ever cease to be, which is contrary to the body of the living entity. The body has a beginning, the body has a middle, and it has an end. So the information about the absolute truth, about the true reality, about our existence and our purpose in this life and our relationship to God, is the subject matter of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is instructed to us by spiritual masters. And the spiritual master educates the disciple listens and applies the knowledge in their life. And they too can actually share this light among other people. And that's why we have this word enlightening. It's actually very wonderful to enlighten people about the absolute truth. We don't really want to waste our time on doing things that are unnecessary, unnecessary discussion of things that are darkness. There's a lot of things in this material world that people prefer to put their attention on, but it actually just brings them unhappiness and suffering. I'm going to read the purport from this verse. Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. It's actually a very wonderful thing to be able to, whereas maybe we try to get some kind of pleasure about talking about different kinds of subject matters of movies or, but those things never satisfy. In the way that talking about Krishna or talking about Krishna's pastimes or talking about the Bhagavad Gita or the information of the Bhagavad Gita, those never satisfy. But people still are hoping. They're hoping to get some nectar. They want to chew the gum that's been chewed. So this material world is just energy that's been chewed and chewed over and recycled and presented again as something else, And I hear it all the time. People trying to chew the gum that's been sitting underneath the table for a while. It's like they just want to try to find some nectar out of this material world. And so, I'll be somewhere and there'll be people actively engaging in the conversation about who's got better coffee, McDonald's or Wendy's. And they're just really getting into it. And I'm just thinking, like, where is the nectar in that? They just kind of go through it, and they're like, oh yeah, okay. And then they're still trying to squeeze the nectar out of the gum. They're just like trying different angles of like, yeah, but Subway has started to have coffee now too, and their coffee is actually pretty good, and McDonald's used to be pretty good, and they just keep, so all this culture of knowledge in the material world is just a place of misery and unhappiness. It's the chewed of the chewed. Whereas the sweetness what my spiritual master is referred to as coming into a banquet hall after being in a starving situation and just seeing this, plethora of food laid out. And this is the information of the Vedic tradition, the knowledges of the scriptures and the words of our spiritual masters and the chanting of our spiritual masters. It's all just wonderful. And we derive great satisfaction and enjoyment by just even taking a little bit, it's just like we can't even dive into this Bhagavad Gita in one class, but we can talk about one verse and we can really relish what's being said in there. And we can see that the Bhagavad Gita is continuously ever growing. We are people discussing it, people having great satisfaction, enlightening, and seeing how it applies to their life. And it's just a wonderful situation. So the symptoms of the pure devotees, okay, so I read that. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. And I wonder if it is in here, actually. I'll just keep reading because this is a wonderful analogy the Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada talks about. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited in the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was the Supreme Lord, is the Supreme Lord, and inaugurated in this age the chanting of Harinama, or the holy names of Krishna, likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. And that seed that's sowed is bija, that is a seed, right? But it is given to us by our spiritual master, and we plant it in our heart. But we have to take care of this plant. The spiritual master doesn't come around and try to water the plant for us or tell us what to do. He can tell us what to do, but he doesn't come in and do all the work for us. We have to actually, just like in a garden, if somebody gives you seeds, you have to prepare your bed, and you have to plant, and you have to make sure you're not putting weeds in there, and so on and so on. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of this universe, and out of them there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed. And if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma-Jyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky, also that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows fruits and flowers, the plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. The chanting and hearing is a continuous and unlimited process, spiritual process. It is the means and it is the ends, and it is continual means after that. So the chanting of Krishna's names is not a temporary thing. It is an eternal thing that we do. The plant of the devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the pastimes of Krishna and his incarnations, is also full of such narration about the relationship with the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. Very nice purport. Yes. Yeah, and we hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but from also the Srimad Bhagavatam is a literature, but it is also the pure devotee. So the pure devotee is also considered Bhagavatam. So we hear Bhagavatam from the Bhagavatam. The pure devotee who is one pointedly in love with Krishna and doing his will. So spiritual life, as my spiritual master would say, spiritual life is about doing God's will. And how do we know what is God's will? We hear from the spiritual master, who has also heard from his spiritual master, and so on, all the way back to Krishna. And this is what we see a little bit here with Krishna and Arjuna in this relationship. That's Krishna delineating the absolute truth to Arjuna as his disciple. But we see also as well in the Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So I recommend reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also translated by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Going on to text 10, to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. It's a very interesting thing because, I'm trying to find the word. Yeah. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has made this point earlier when he uses the word bhajatam, which he translates as worship. A deeper understanding of that worship is to be in transcendental loving service to God. And so to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, mind you, right? Oftentimes when we think about worship, sometimes it's sort of awe and reverence, or even like kind of, God is kind of far off, like they have in those tracts, in the Christian tracts, where he's a faceless person who sits on a stone throne, saying people can go to heaven or people can go to hell. And are you in the book? You're in the book. You're not in the book. You go to hell, right? But this is not the idea of Krishna. Krishna is a word. His name means the most attractive. The most attractive. Krishna is the most attractive. God is most attractive in his most intimate and personal form of Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So, for those who really want to know Krishna, then Krishna will give the information via being introduced to the spiritual master, who is the external representation of Krishna's mercy. So let's read a little bit purport from Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, the word buddhi yogam is very significant. Buddhi means intelligence, right? Spiritual intelligence. We may remember that in this second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of buddhi yoga. Now, buddhi yoga is explained. Buddhi yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence. Yogam means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness and devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yogam. So there is a lot of information and knowledge, so-called knowledge and so-called intelligence within the material world that helps people try to understand the material world. But this is not Buddhi Yogam. This is not even Buddhi. Because a lot of times a person can study so many things about the material world. They could understand the matings of they could spend their whole life writing papers about the matings of beetles from the rainforest in Brazil. And they have so many, their whole life is built on those kind of things. But this doesn't really help them understand who they are and what the purpose of their life is and what they need to do to get out of this material world or to go back to Krishna. And this here, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying the Buddhi Yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. So the activities that we do, just as it was said before, those who are devoted and worship me with love, who are in service with me with love, Krishna gives the understanding by which they can come back to me. So the key is to engage where Krishna was telling Arjuna, I want you to fight. So he was giving him an instruction. We're given an instruction by the spiritual master who is a pure devotee of Krishna, who is one of these devotees who dwell in me, whose lives are surrendered to me, and who derive great satisfaction and bliss and enlightening. They give the guideposts by which you can go back to Krishna, and you just need to follow it. They give you the seed, understanding. There's all these analogies. You need to plant that seed. You need to prepare your garden bed. You need to pull the weeds. Everything that has to do with spiritual life is an individual action or activity. And this is the word karma. Karma, is often referred to as a lot of things by many people. The karma is going to come get you. But karma really means an activity. It's an action. And karma yoga is an activity in Krishna consciousness. And Buddhi yoga is really using your intelligence, your spiritual intelligence, to do those things which are pleasing and loving to Krishna. So, wonderful verse. In other words, Buddhi yogam is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. What greater intelligence would there be? Who needs to know about a beetle in Brazil rainforest? If you don't know what you're going to do at the end of your life, or where you're going to go, or how do you get out, or what happens, for that matter. Continuing on, the ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. So everybody that Krishna is explaining here, all the devotees and great lovers and servants of Krishna do the will of Krishna by helping the fallen souls in the material world who have come to this material world out of a desire to own and control and are now entangled. The spiritual masters come and basically help uncover what is already there in the hearts of the living entities, but is covered up through material association. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna, the Krishna consciousness, Krishna, 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 Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly and progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. So it is work. My spiritual teacher told us that, the spiritual master's job is to point you down the way of as Jesus Christ says, I am the way, the truth, and the light. Jesus Christ was the same thing, was pointing the way for people to go back to God, go back to Krishna. But that does take work. Spiritual life is not just like, okay, you're benedicted or something, or you've accepted the blood of Jesus, and now you're holy and you're going to heaven or whatever. It is a day-to-day. There's a lot of things to do, and the analogy of a garden is actually very accurate, because we have a garden. We have the garden bed. If you've ever done gardening, sometimes it's full of weeds or rocks or sticks, or it's really hard. You have to dig up there's a lot of work to do that. The spiritual master is giving you that seed, and you're planting it in this garden bed. And then you have the job of making sure you're watering that garden. That's the chanting of Krishna's names. And you don't want to you do the things that you're supposed to do, right? And then the garden grows very beautifully. But if you're going to be throwing seeds of things that are not beneficial to your spiritual life in there, then you're going to have to fight those things, because they're going to grow up. And sometimes, I don't know about you, I've seen some things in my time in Africa as a Peace Corps volunteer and stuff. They got these gnarly roots and things like that. Or even in California, they got Bermuda grass, which is just kind of it's got three-dimensional roots. So even if you have a little piece of it in there, it'll start off a whole nother thing. So you have to really diligently work to do those things, simultaneously keeping the weeds out of your garden, keeping it out of the things that are not pleasing to God, not pleasing to your spiritual master, in your garden, and likewise doing the things that are pleasing, watering, chanting Krishna's names, serving in devotion your spiritual master and to Krishna, and helping others too come and start their own garden bed. So this is the wonderful thing about the spiritual master, who said that sort of a two-pronged situation. You apply the system of your sadhana bhakti, or your practice of chanting Krishna's names every day, or reading scripture, or hearing the words of your spiritual master, or applying the instructions of your spiritual master, and at the same time helping others too, in their life, in their struggles, because this is the greatest welfare for humanity. There are a lot of things that you can do that will be superficial, that will help like kind of a band-aid, and then there are deeper things, which are the spiritual truths of the Bhagavad Gita, applied in your life daily, which give true light and give true meaning to your life. So I think that'll be all for tonight. And I recommend that if you have the Bhagavad Gita as it is, this is the 1972 version. I recommend this one, Bhaktivedanta. You can get it on Amazon, I'm sure. And just to read a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, meditate upon it every day, and read the purport. It's very wonderful, as we've heard. And chant every day. So that's what we're going to do now. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Godakaruni Swamipaya Radha Krishna Krishnayate Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Godakaruna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Krishnayate Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasade Gaurata Vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Haribo. 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Gurudev, Jai Srila Prabhupada. 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 Haribol, thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time. Namaste.